Story 1. Buy my mom and me an actual house. A good one with a nice front yard and backyard. A nice, big, one-floor house so my mom will not have to use stairs. Then save the rest for future use. Story 2. Pay off my mortgage, complete all the maintenance on my house that I have been postponing, and put $100,000 in liquid savings. Allocate the remaining funds to retirement. Continue living my regular life. Never tell anyone about the money. Story 3. This is something I am currently debating. After 10 years of building a very successful cannabis extraction laboratory and business, I sold it for $2.2 million. After capital gains tax, I have a substantial amount left. I was somewhat shocked when I looked at my bank account. So, I guess I am going to retire in my early 40s and be a beach bum. I plan to invest in safe retirement accounts and options. Story 4. Sell my belongings and run off to a tropical island in the South Pacific, one of the more affordable locations. Story 5. I would seek out a lawyer and a certified financial planner to get organized on taxes, sensible investment strategy, estate planning, and set up a trust to consolidate my assets. Since I need groceries, I would go to the store and pick up a loaf of bread to put in the cart without checking the price first. Story 6. Invest it and live off the interest. At 5%, you can withdraw $80,000 to $90,000 per year, and the fund will slowly grow with $10,000 to $20,000 annually. Keep working my job for 3 to 5 years, put the salary into a house, and then retire and enjoy life. Story 7. If I had that amount after taxes, I would put $1 million away to live modestly and comfortably aside from our Social Security. Then I would put $200,000 to get our place exactly how I want it. $100,000 for personal upgrades. I would give my husband $100,000 and a new truck. I would get an orange Audi crossover. I would split $200,000 among some close friends, $200,000 split among some animal charities, and $200,000 in the bank. Story 8. Pay off my 401k loan for my friend's fire last year. Then invest the rest to ensure I am never in that situation again. Story 9. McDonald's, you will not be missed. I will make sure everyone who ever helped me gets a share. Big party over here. Story 10. Put it into a tax-efficient investment tool, then invest it all into global safe markets. Collect passive income for the rest of my life. Story 11. Between our house and student loans, I think we are about $500,000 in debt. I would pay off that debt. My wife's parents took our student loans for her, so I would pay those off too. After that, I would probably have over $1 million left. I would spend some money upgrading the house. A new roof, hot water heater, gutters, garage doors, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and encapsulate the attic. A new kitchen. I think I would have $900,000 left. After that, I am setting up funds for the kids, one college fund and one retirement fund. I would put the remainder into our retirement fund or some kind of high-yield savings or individual retirement account. Then, with no more debt, my wife and I can put our income into our retirement, do some traveling, and buy a river house. Story 12. Put half away in investments for longevity. $100,000 on black, put $300,000 down on some land, get a job, build the largest fence possible, and throw my cell phone in the river. This leaves me around $600,000 to build, buy guns, garden, get a truck, and purchase all the little stuff. Set up off-grid slowly. A part-time job would be at Home Depot or something for discounts. Pretty sure I would be fine. Story 13. I would buy a house for my wife, my children, and myself. Then I would use the rest to pay off debt for my friends and family. People do not realize how much $1 million really is. If you make $100,000 a year, then that is 10 years of pay before taxes. I would use it to help out some people for sure. Story 14. Pay debt, get a decent used car, put some effort into earning a good monthly salary, and travel a bit. Story 15. Pay off any renovation debts my parents have because of a natural disaster that affected their house. Have a private chauffeur because I cannot drive for health reasons. That would make me feel like I am less of a burden. Story 16. Invest it into no or low risk accounts and issue myself a monthly stipend to secure my day-to-day life. Then, Use my time to pursue my interests and hobbies to see if I can make money doing something I truly love. That, of course, is after I get back from my 6-month world tour. Story 17. Anyone in the world knows what to do. You get a house with a 25-year roof and indestructible Japanese economy vehicle. You put the rest into the system at 3 to 5% to pay your taxes, and that is your base. Story 18. Pay off all debt, including mortgage and car loan, and put the remaining money in a safe fund. Do all I can to live off the interest it generates. Story 19. Buy a 1987 Buick Grand National. Withdraw another $100,000. Then put the rest in an interest-earning account. Story 20. Pay off my house, put some in savings, and get a better house out of town with lots of property so I can have many dogs. Story 21. Give half of it to a children's hospital. Just kidding. I am keeping all of it and spending frivolously. Story 22. 1. Pay off all debts. Invest in multiple sectors such as gold and stocks where money will grow slowly but steadily. Start a business and run it for 1.5 years while keeping my current job. Leave the job once I feel the business is providing enough. Most importantly, donate as much as possible, at least 2.5 to 7%. Story 23. Money market account, something stable. I would probably keep working, though, as being off for long periods gets boring. Story 24. Pay off some of my car and school, then my parents' house, then look into investing it after taking my best friend and me on a trip somewhere fun. Story 25. Move back to the Bay Area where my friends and family are and buy a house. $2 million is not enough to quit my job or drastically change my life, but being closer to family and friends would be fantastic. Story 26. I am buying the right to say no. Keep that money in the bank, find the safest 3 to 4% annual interest investment for $1 million, and another $500,000 in a 6% slightly riskier investment, and the rest in growth stocks. Then just go to work as usual, but I do not have to take nonsense or fear losing my livelihood anymore. I will be at a level of peace I have never felt before. Story 27. But some land and a house big enough for our family. Oh, and a bigger car. Maybe some animals for that land. Story 28. Finally ordering avocado toast since the older generation claims I cannot afford a house because of buying avocado toast. Story 29. Take $1 million to move my mother into a decent house and pay all of her bills for a few years. Then take the remaining $1 million, invest half, and use the other half to buy a small place in the woods and have 4 or 5 dogs. Story 30. Invest it in different ways so that my whole family does not have to work for the rest of their lives, and whatever I do is not for money but for my personal enjoyment. Story 31. Buy an incredible house on the spot and then set up a savings account so I can live off the interest. Story 32. Move it to a Swiss bank. Move to a different country. Change my name and all forms of contact. Live comfortably. Story 33. Pay off all my loans. Buy a new car from this decade. Replace my old appliances. And invest the rest in an index fund to earn money for me. Story 34. Buy a relatively small 35 to 40-foot boat and a small barge equipped with a metalworking shop. Then I will travel along the west coast of North America, helping build and make things that are both attractive and functional for people. Why change your goals in life if you win a little money? Story 35. Buy a good but modest house in a decent neighborhood. Put about $100,000 in a direct debit bank account, which would send $5,000 per month to my cash account. Invest the remainder in a basket of fairly conservative debt and equity instruments. Story 36. I would invest half of it in low-risk mutual funds and then take the other half to my friend Asadella, who works in securities. Story 37. I went to college with a guy. He won $6 million. No one ever saw him again, not even his girlfriend. He disappeared completely, took a few personal items from his apartment, and left everything else. If I were in his situation, I might have done the same thing. Now, at 42, I would retire from my current trades job and go work for my buddy at his brewery, handling kegs, making deliveries, and maybe learning to be a brewmaster. Story 38. Try to find a 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath house somewhere I want to live and pay for it in full with cash. A lot of other things would take care of themselves over time. I would not want or need to stop working because work provides health insurance, but having that permanent living situation settled would be amazing. Story 39. I would want to do bad things, but honestly, I would first pay off my debt, give some to loved ones, and save or invest to start a nest egg. Story 40. I'm going to be boring. If I suddenly had $2 million, I would invest $1.5 million of it. After 2 years of it being invested, I would start drawing $45,000 per year from it as an income likely for the rest of my life. With the $500,000 I kept, I would replace my aging car, redo my kitchen and bathrooms in my home, take my family on a 3-week vacation to Italy and Spain. My life would remain pretty much the same as it is now, just my annual vacations would be a little more extravagant. And I would probably actually retire at 60 when my wife does, instead of being like all the men in my family and working until I am 80. Story 41. I would find out the price for this attractive young Latina bartender to perform oral sex near the dumpster out back. She has an intense look and vibe, like she will figuratively suck your soul down her throat and might also attempt to stab you or dramatically ruin your life. Story 42. Investing half. Using the other half to pay off the house, the cars, and any debts, then buying a few things we have always wanted. Story 43. Pay off my debts, travel, buy a condominium, and use the remaining funds to sponsor families from Gaza, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Sudan so they can escape. Story 44. Cash or in my bank. If it is in my bank, I talk to an accountant about taxes and investments. If it is cash, I hide it, live life normally, but know I have some financial security. Story 45. Pay off the mortgage $400,000. Pay off the car lease $35,000. Take the wife and kids on a nice vacation $25,000. The remaining amount I would put in a guaranteed investment certificate or something else with minimal risk that generates some income, and let it compound over the next 20 years until I retire. Story 46. Depends on the source. Assuming it is legitimate, pay taxes on it. Invest in rental properties to establish passive income streams. If not legitimate, wire transfer the money to a Swiss bank and hold it for a while to observe what happens. Story 47. Retire and work on my music. And yeah, I know that's not enough if you are young, but I am 61, so I would take the opportunity. Story 48. I have 3 big dreams: to own a house, own land, and have one of my favorite cars, a Range Rover or Fortuner. This is my first priority. Story 49. So how it is obtained is definitely a big part, but I am going to assume I just inherited $2 million for some strange reason, like a distant relative died and liked me a lot. Half immediately goes into a high-interest savings account. That is for when the Internal Revenue Service decides to claim their share. I do not know how inheritance taxes work, and I am not taking the chance. Taxes that year will be done by a professional instead of my simple taxes I do every year. Which brings me to step 2. Fiduciary. A fiduciary who is legally obligated to act in my best interest. I have never had this level of money before, and I need someone versed in handling an amount that large. Pay off active debts. I am actually pretty low on debt, less than $10,000, so it will not even make a dent in the leftover $1 million. This is to make sure I am not beholden to anyone. Being debt-free sounds like such an amazing prospect. Set myself up for the rest of my life. $200,000 will be split into accounts for my children for college. The rest will be invested to start paying me so I can eventually get to the point where I no longer have to work. Anything left over from taxes gets tossed into this pile. If I do not have to pay taxes, that just gets me to retirement faster. Aside from that, I wonder if it could be set up. Could I invest as much as possible in value stocks, take loans to live off, then when I die have my inheritors get the step up in cost basis of the stocks and sell part to pay back the loans and keep the rest to do the same thing themselves? Seems like a tax loophole to me if that is possible. Story 50. Probably leave the United States. Probably. If not, I would pay off the remainder of our mortgage and put the rest toward retirement. That might be enough to quit my job and retire, though I would need to do some math to be certain. It absolutely would not be enough for my husband to quit his job, though, so maybe keep working another 5 or more years until we both could quit. Story 51. Donate $1 million to environmental causes. Donate $500,000 to local youth sports. Pay for another scan of my neck where I have a painful growing lump making it hard to swallow and doctors do not care about it. Pay off the mortgage. Take the kids on a trip to a very different part of the world so they can gain different perspectives on humanity. With the remaining $7, maybe grab a good beer. Story 52. Pay off my mortgage. Purchase a condominium for my elderly aunt. Then buy a small cottage in the Outer Hebrides. Then live off the remainder. Story 53. I would put $250,000 into 8 separate high-yield savings accounts and continue working out the $70,000 or so into another savings account until it reaches $250,000. Then I would do that 2 times so I have 10 accounts. I would use the interest as income as long as the rates stay above 3% for the next 6 years. Once the rates go lower than 2.5%, I will move the money into a 10-year treasury account. Then I will be 45 years old and retire. I will continue to work until the age of 45, then take a part-time, easy job and relax on the porch drinking lemonade, watching my kids grow up and leave the house. I will see life in slow motion. Story 54. Pay the taxes. Pay off our mortgage and any other incidental debt. Invest the rest so that we can live off the interest. I would not quit my job, but I would be less stressed about it because that is financial independence money at my age. Story 55. Pay off my debt. Quit my job. Travel for a couple of months. Invest in a large apartment complex. Put the rest with a financial manager. Story 56. Buy the house I am looking at outright. Buy a new truck outright. Build a pole barn on my new property. Save and invest the rest. Story 57. Not much. Barely enough to retire these days, or maybe not at all depending on where you live. It would generate roughly $120,000 per year in income from the interest. That is nice, but depending on your age, that is not going to set you up for life. Story 58. I would help my mother. I would donate and invest in my YouTube channel. I would also find a way to invest so I never ran out again. Story 59. Invest all of it with a mix of growth and dividends. Use the dividends to pay off debt and work towards retirement. Story 60. Invest everything into one stock option I am confident will increase significantly in the next 3 years. Then ignore it until the increase happens. Then cash out and use the funds to start my information technology business. Story 61. Easy answer. I take it and put it in front of me and stare at it for a week. Well, it is hard to think about what you are going to do when you don't have money in hand. Now we can say, I am going to do this, or I am going to do that. But in reality, I think we will all be shocked, have a brain freeze, and not know what to do with the money. You will start to have a lot of random thoughts about what to do with it. It is complicated. Story 62. Put $1 million in a high-interest fund and live off the remainder for the next 15 years at my current standard of living. Work only if I want to or for the social aspect, then retire off the gains from the other million. Story 63. Pay off all debts and start investing. Consider buying some real estate and use the other half to invest in good stocks or index funds, or even some in a high-yield savings account. Story 64. Put it into a dividend portfolio and let it self-invest for a few years. Then receive $100,000 a year of recurring income. Story 65. I would take some time off work to rest, recuperate, and heal. Then I would buy some property and a new sensible car. After that, I would go back to work and completely disrupt the place, stir up all the trouble, reveal all the secrets, tell people what I really think, and generally cause chaos. Story 66. Pay off all my debt and my partner's debt, call my financial advisor, and quit my job. I am assuming this fantasy is tax-free. Story 67. Donate to a good cause, pay off debt, finally get an apartment, help close family, and maybe start my own business if there is enough left over. Story 68. 1. Pay off car loans, student loans, and medical debt. Visit doctor, dentist, and get therapy. Secure housing large enough for me and my friends. Take a vacation. I do not do this because I do not have money or time. Praxis. Story 69. I could pay off my house, my wife's debt, and all of mine with less than $200,000, so I would do that. I would put $1 million into portfolios to continue making money long term. I would put away at least $200,000 for my daughter in a high-yield savings account. I would buy myself a truck and my wife a Camry. Then we would go have some fun as a family. Story 70. Go away and relax. No, I am not giving a dime to anyone except what I want. Yes, I said it. When I finish spoiling myself, I will continue. Rinse and repeat. Story 71. First, pay off all high-interest debt and fund an emergency account in a high-yield savings account. Then put 70% in a broadly diversified total stock market index fund at Vanguard. Put 30% in a Vanguard total bond index fund. $2 million should generate $70,000 per year pretty much indefinitely. Found money is no different than earned money. Invest prudently and retire early. That is what I did. Story 72. Buy a car. Mine is broken and cannot pass inspection. Nothing serious, but it is something I want and would enjoy. Move. Find a nice place to rent while I sort out the other details. Job search. $2 million is not enough for me to retire. Therefore, I will invest money towards finding the best job that fits me. Buy house, land, or something else. If I have to move for that great job, so be it. I am not tied to this location. If the job is remote, I will get something local. I may try to acquire assets in a way that does not require using my own money. Story 73. I would go to graduate school to be a better teacher and buy my mother a house so she does not have to work anymore. Story 74. Pay off my debt and then buy some new clothes. When the children are off school, spend the 6-week summer holidays traveling. Story 75. Build my dream personal computer, clear debts and family debts, pay off mortgage and parents' mortgage, and then save the remaining amount to live off comfortably and not overspend. Story 76. The way he has been treating me lately, I would give my husband half and become his ex-wife. He is still going to end up with much more than me because I have nothing to my name, but at least I will be able to breathe. Story 77. Invested among a variety of exchange-traded funds, an investment property or two, and some high-yield certificates of deposit or treasuries. Do not spend any of it on non-income generating assets. Story 78. Pay off debt, buy new reliable cars for my wife and me, buy a brand new house, and save the remaining amount half for savings and half for a college fund. Story 79. Quit my day job and invest the $2 million into a high-interest, low-risk money market account. Plan to take exactly X dollars out every month, where X equals 75% of my current salary. Live life as I do now without lifestyle creep and not have to worry about working for a very long time. P.S. Why 75%? I have a routine of moving 25% of my salary after taxes to be invested in a savings account, which I do not touch. Story 80. You know what I would do if I had $2 million? I would invest half of it in low-risk mutual funds and then take the other half to my friend Acidella, who works in securities. Story 81. Go explore all the previous responses to this in the AskReddit forum instead of asking for the 2 millionth time. Story 82. Pay off debts. Have a decent but not extreme house big enough for me, my children, and a potential future partner. Take my parents on vacation and make any adaptations they need to their house. Stop working and retrain myself for a different career, but only work about 3 days a week. After some research, buy a paraglider and take lessons. I want to fly. Story 83. Put $1 million in SNSXX. Diversify the remaining $1 million into other dividend stocks with some risk. Live off the interest. Get a loan leveraging my stocks for a nearly 0% interest loan on a small house in the Midwest. Now retire and make or play video games all day. Story 84. Pay off all my debts and give the remainder to a financial advisor. Retire at exactly age 65 and enjoy not panicking when the house account goes negative before payday. Story 85. Quit my job, pay off my bills, Make some financial plans to invest and grow the rest so my money works for me instead of me working for whatever money I have left. Story 86. Invest in stock market exchange-traded funds and put money into multiple high-yield savings accounts to live off dividends and interest. No more working for me or my children. Story 87. Pay off student loans. Give my mother at least 6 figures. Ask my supervisor if I can work fully remote since I am currently hybrid. Once approved, buy a house far away from my current location and disappear. Story 88. If you mean an additional $2 million, I would buy a beach rental and a lake house. If you meant the total amount, I would just keep on keeping on. Story 89. Pay off all debt. Put a portion in a trust for my children. Invest the remainder and try to grow it so I can retire someday. Story 90. Freak out. I would have no idea where it came from and be worried someone was going to come looking for it. I would be in huge trouble. Story 91. Pay off all debts. Remodel my house. Have my yard landscaped. Probably buy something silly and frivolous. Put whatever is left into my individual retirement account. Sorry, I'm really boring. Story 92. 1. Pay off debt. Invest the remaining dollars in an interest-bearing account with a rate between 4% and 6%. Live off the interest for the rest of your life without touching the principal. I do not know enough about this strategy, but I understand you can invest in a life insurance policy and borrow against it. However, that may be a little too complex. Story 93. I would hire a marching band to follow me everywhere just to confuse people. Also, buy a huge pool filled with jelly beans. Life is too short to be normal. Story 94. Keep 500,000 in the form of the currency I currently use the most. Keep another 500,000 in various types of value, such as gold and other currencies. Invest the final 1 million. Story 95. I want to buy 3 houses. One for my family, one for my brother, and one for me on another continent. Story 96. Retire, I am close anyway. Live modestly as I always have, set up a charitable fund to manage, and grow the rest of my money for my children. Story 97. Pay off my house. Given the state of my country, the most secure I could feel is if my house is actually owned by me and not the bank. If all else fails, at least I would have my house. Story 98. I would continue to do what I am already doing and accumulate the interest for a decade, then set up a fund for my family. Story 99. Buy some land and build a house. Get my son more therapies and help for his autism than you can imagine. Work less so I can spend more time with my children. Story 100. I would buy myself a house, pay off my mother's house, invest, and either retire or find a fun part-time job that I could do at my own leisure. Story 101. I have it and I act like I do not. It does not mean I am going to go all out and spend ridiculous amounts just because I can or overpay for basic needs like clothes. Story 102. Pay off all my debt and buy a modest used car, preferably a Toyota. That still leaves me with approximately $1,960,000 without knowing what to do with it. Story 103. Move. Buy a nice, but not overly expensive house with a pool. Buy a big, safe family sport utility vehicle. Put the rest in the bank for college tuition and let it earn interest. Neither my partner nor I could quit work. Story 104. Pay off my debt, go on a dream vacation, probably Thailand or Bora Bora, buy my first property, and invest the rest. Story 105. Pay my debts, buy a small house that I can afford to live in with a normal wage, set my children up for life, and then donate the rest. Story 106. Pay off all my debt and all my parents' debt, invest a portion of it, use some to make a down payment on a house, and put the rest in the bank. After all is said and done, I should still have a significant amount of money left. Story 107. I would have my bathroom remodeled, the exterior of my house painted, and the yard landscaped. I would buy a fun car with a manual transmission and invest the rest. Story 108. Buy a modest home in a small village somewhere in Europe that would allow me to have residency and disappear. Story 109. Pay off my house. Pay off my parents' house. Pay off my brother's house. Buy my sister a house. That would probably take most of it. Story 110. Move out of the Bronx and get an equity loan on the current house to buy a new one and rent out the old property. Pay off my parents, my aunt and uncles, they played a huge part in raising me, and my in-laws' debts. $100,000 would easily clear that. Set up my niece and nephew with a decent college fund. Give my sister some money to invest. The rest, which should still be over $1,500,000, I would put straight into an investment account and use the interest to pay the loan. Quit my project management job and secure a simple, low-stress job. Focus more on my family and health. Story 111. Nothing, because I am not that lucky. It was probably a mistake and will be removed. Spending any of it would just cause trouble. Story 112. Well, I am in a developing country, so I would retire and sleep all day. Oh, and also 2 girls at the same time. Story 113. Pay off mine and my wife's debt, as well as my brother from another mother's. Buy a house, a small manageable home for my mom. Invest what is left. Story 114. Would not be telling anyone I have it. In fact, this is confirmation I do not have multiple millions. Story 115. Dude, with the exchange rate, that would be life-changing. Retire right now money in my country if one is smart. I would buy myself a decent house and car, help some close family get on their feet, and enjoy life without bosses, backstabbing workmates, and annoying clients for the foreseeable future. Story 116. Nothing. I gained about 1 million euros from an insurance claim. I still live in the same poor condition house. I cannot go on holiday because I cannot find a dog sitter. I have a sailboat, which is cool, but I prefer to rent one. Story 117. Donate to horse shelters and rescues, then get myself a nice piece of land where I can take in older horses and give them a soft place to fall. I will also have my own set of horses that I train. Story 118. Buy a decent place to live and invest the rest. I probably would not make any other significant changes in the short term. Story 119. Half of it on stocks and the other on a duplex or triplex, maybe for a down payment. Live in one unit and rent the others out. Live for free while generating some cash flow. Whatever is left over, I do not know, have your savings available and maybe try to start a business. Story 120. Pay off all my debts, including my car and everything else, totaling about $25,000. Buy a house with cash in a nice area for $1 million. Deposit the remaining $975,000 into 4 high-yield savings accounts to stay under the $250,000 Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation insurance limit per account. Live off the approximately $3,500 to $4,000 a month in interest it generates. Story 121. I grew up poor and currently barely make a livable wage. The thought of having that much money is overwhelming, and I honestly do not know what I would do. I would be so scared of losing it that I think I would just pay off every cent of debt I have, my parents' debt, buy a house, go on some trips, and let the rest sit in my bank account until I decide what to do with it. Either keep it or try to grow it. Story 122. I would invest it into something safe. A 5% return is $100,000 a year, $75,000 after capital gains. I would work for a few more years and then probably retire. Story 123. Immediately quit my job, pay off all remaining debt, and start a new career in something I have actual passion for. Sometimes I imagine this little fantasy, and it is almost scary to think that if I were ever blessed this way, it would mean I would have to take action and actually start living the real life I want. Story 124. Pay off debts, including house and car, and start looking for ways to secure my financial future, along with that of my partner and family, for the long term. Set up college funds for my siblings and ensure a fully paid house for my mother. Complete a couple of home improvements that have been needed for some time. Even the passive income from the interest, if I continued working, would be a significant boost and help pay for many things quickly. Story 125. Well, I suppose if I got it through legal means, it would immediately be reduced to around $1 million due to taxes. Then I would donate maybe $20,000 or so to a good cause, buy a place in Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C., and have enough left over for pizza dinner. Maybe even a supreme pizza with extra cheese. Story 126. Inflation is real. This should be if you have $1 million. $1 million toward cash flowing real estate, $1 million toward leveraged cryptocurrency. Story 127. Invest it in dividend earning accounts and tell my wife she is officially retired from the workforce. I will keep working. Story 128. Give half to the food banks in my area. Use the other half to buy a nice, reasonably sized house for my son. Move to a state with a Democratic majority. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.